folks to the OKD Community Development Meeting for August 8th of the year 2023. And if there's anything to the agenda that you want to add other than just going through the cards and talking about planning board stuff, let me know. Actually update the agenda there, but if you can, please put your name, once I get this up there, August. Please put your name in the attendees section there, and if there's anything that you want to add to the agenda, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just go through the various things that we have in the planning board. All right, we go down agenda. I think basically we'll probably focus on operators and video series stuff because that's the projects basically. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So going to the planning board. So video stuff, let's see where we're at here. A lot of folks have been on vacation, so we don't actually have updates to many of these. Ignition and butane stuff and FCOS with Timothy. He was not at the last meeting, last week's working group meeting, so I didn't get a chance to check in with him yet. Luigi, anything on SCOS, you and Christian?
No, at this point in time, no. Christian has been, I think last week was basically out, and I think this week he's focused on getting some stuff done on MOC with the layering. Yeah, as soon as that's out the way, I think we'll get started on the SCOS stuff. Yeah, so okay. Sorry about that. Still a bit behind.
That's all right. This is the time of year that just a lot of people are sort of doing other stuff and, you know, vacations and moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'll take the next three ones. I would assume that the OKD on FCOS build modifications and OKD SCOS build, that those are all sort of in waiting. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And we do not have. Yeah. Okay. So we'll installation options. He's not here. Let's see. MCO. We haven't really tackled that one yet, other than the video that we had. I don't know. Did folks have a chance to look at that video yet? That I posted. That was the YouTube video. I don't know if folks had a chance to check that out yet. I think I put the link in.
I didn't check it out yet. I did ask around internally to see if I could find someone who wanted to do like an MCO video, but I didn't get any strong bites. There's like a few people I know who might be good for it, but it sounded like they were just busy to the point where they couldn't even consider like doing something like that. And, you know, unless I was able to show up with like a script and be like, all right, get on and do it.
Right.
So unfortunately, I haven't been able to find someone internally who wants to do it basically. So I'm kind of running into some resistance there.
Okay. Well, let me then let's just accept Brendan Shepard's offer of help. We'll use the video that he created. That's not OKD specific. It's I think he does it actually on OCP, but we can just sort of run with that for now. And then he offered to make one that's more specific. So let's just run with that. He offered, and he's great at making videos. So I'll plug his.
That's great for that. Yeah, that's totally awesome.
And you're up next for the must gather.
Right. Yeah. So like baby steps from my side. I've I had to reset up my video recording here. So I've got like OBS working well on my machine now, and I think I'm good to like make the videos. I've also been trying to reorient my content towards a 15-minute, like we talked about before. So I'm like mostly through what I consider to be a script of what I'd like to say. I'm hoping maybe in the next couple weekends I'll get a chance to try and like just test record and see if it comes out the way I like. So I don't know, maybe in the next like 2-3 weeks I could have something to share with you, Jamie, and then then if you can mix it up or whatever, or put some bumpers on it, or whatever the lingo is, like
Yeah, add a beat to
yeah,
it.
that'd be
Yeah, for
awesome.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, and then actually what I'll do is Bruce is not here this week, and I don't think he was at the meeting last week either. So for the troubleshooting essentials, let's just like maybe share out a HackMD doc and start throwing ideas in of like where we would start, the three of us, and I'll let Bruce know about it. And then we'll just get a script going between the three of us and then record that when the time
Yeah, that
comes.
sounds great. Please, like,
Okay.
yeah, just hit me up on Slack, and yeah, I'd love to look at
Okay.
that.
Fantastic. Any other stuff on video? So okay, and we do have the comment about hardware preparation and stuff like that. I think that gets into like a whole other ball of wax, like we talked about. And if we know someone that wants to talk about hardware prep, or that's able to talk about hardware prep, it kind of varies, depending on what you're going to be installing and whatnot. But yes, I think once we get through the initial set of what we had, then actually tackle something like hardware and whatnot.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
saw Fedora was getting ready to go on what's that, Apple Silicon. I was like, wow, that's a serious change in the world.
Well, and really beneficial for their adoption, right? Like, you get that going, and you got a lot of people that are going to embrace it. So, all right. Any other thoughts on video stuff before we move on? All right, moving guides to blog posts. That's Brian, and he will deal with that when he gets a chance. Creating Tecton and OKD document. I haven't revisited this yet because I've been sort of focused on the video series. OKDIO video content, yeah, that sort of connects into that video series. So we'll move past that. Write up project board guidelines. We haven't gotten anyone to volunteer for that one yet. Basically that's and you wrote something, Miko. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I just wanted to say something real quick about the previous card, that OKD.io video content. Does that card need to be like moved it, like joined with the other card, or like do we need to have two cards open? I was just curious.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this was, I don't think if it's all covered.
This is just kind of like I guess this is, to me, this is just kind of a Kanban board backlog kind of cleanliness thing, right? Like, do we need to have two cards? We should probably differentiate. And if not, then we should make one card point to the other one and close one out or something, just to reduce our, kind of toil,
Yeah, I think what I'll do is about half of these are covered with what we're doing, right? So if we look at like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1 through 4 actually are taken care of with the other card. And then there's sort of the welcome and overview video, and then a UPI and SNO.
Yeah, like if we have 2, it looks like if 4 of those are done and we have 2 that aren't done, can we just take the 2 that aren't done, like add it in a comment on the other card and then close this one out?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I guess we could throw that in with the Foundations video series. So could do this,
I mean, if you think they should be 2 separate cards, like that's totally cool. I just think we should differentiate,
Well,
Like this content
I
is
feel
going to
like
go on the
yeah,
website.
actually, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to hold off
Okay.
on that. I will clean up the OKD IO video content one to narrow it down to just things related to the community and the welcoming video and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And
Okay,
keep the
perfect,
foundation
perfect.
series for like technical type stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, just as long as it's clear like why we have two cards, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, now on to the next point about the project guidelines.
Yeah. Change the name on that. Well, I'll do that later, but yeah, I'll change the name on that.
Okay.
To make it more
Yeah,
explicit.
cool.
And then project board guidelines, right? So we talked about this a little bit. And we haven't really revisited it.
Yeah, so I was just trying to share like kind of my thoughts on the direction I thought we should go. Like I honestly like I can't commit to like writing like a formal version of this. Like I just don't think I'll have the time to do it. But like I'm happy to participate in a conversation or like share more. Yeah, this was kind of like my first shot at like I thought we should just try and come up with, I think if we're going to operate as a community and we've got like this notion of like, okay, we would like the community to have certain processes and rituals around how we get our work done. I think it's probably best for us to try and enshrine some of those things in a document where we can say, all right, we're the OKD community. This is how we host meetings. This is where we host meetings. If you'd like to interact with us, this is how the project organizes itself, you know, just to help providing some structure, because in my mind, and maybe this is like optimistic or aspirational or whatever, but I look at like all the great work the Fedora community has done, and they've really built like a strong community. And I think we're seeing that now in light of like some things coming to the Fedora community that are kind of shaking the community's stability, right? Like they've got some big decisions and questions that are open that are causing the community to really, you know, engage. And I think because they have such good processes, their community is like healthy enough to withstand that and like succeed through it. And so I would love to see the OKD community kind of get to a similar place where it's like, we've got a well-defined way that we kind of do business, for lack of a better metaphor. And that makes it easier then for people outside the community to have a very clear understanding of like, oh, like, you know, this is the project board. I can go look here and understand like how things work. And, you know, this is how they like to, you know, triage things or whatever. So that was kind of my I guess impetus here for writing something down.
I like it. And riffing on it, when I look at like number one, community member would like to see a change in OKD or the community. I view the community page or the get involved page could be broken down into sections with just, do you want to get involved with a technical suggestion? Do this. Do you want to get involved with a community process, you know, or have a suggestion for community process? Open this type of issue. Like we tell people you can open an issue or open a discussion, but we don't tell them which item to select or point out that there's multiple categories to select and stuff like that. It would be nice if we had one page that literally just breaks this down for, would you like to get involved this way or provide feedback then this way, then, or for this type of thing, then do this. For this type of thing, then do this. Does that sort of align with your vision?
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. I think like,
Okay.
I think what you're talking about is like perfectly like we're on the same page there. It's like, give people a clear impression of kind of how they get involved. And yeah, I think if you break it down that way, where it's like, okay, yeah, you want to, you know, that's a great way for us even just to break down the task of writing this, right? Because if we could start to look at kind of the little sections and yeah, like, so I think that's a really nice way to approach it.
Okay, let's actually set that up then for, let's tackle this at the next meeting. We'll just start with a blank document and just have us riff on what we think the section should be, the different ways in which someone can get involved. And then after that, then we just map it to the particular, is it an issue? Is it a discussion? If it's a discussion, this particular, you know, category, etc. Okay, that sounds good for next meeting, just to get this done. Yeah, go ahead.
In that process, how critical do you think it is for a newcomer to have the knowledge of APIs such that they can pinpoint where they want to go, or try to figure out how one API works with another API in case they want to use a certain set of APIs to work with operators or something, you know. But if they don't understand any of the basic protocols, and that seems like that's a hard thing to put into the code and into the Linux and into the testing. Does that make sense?
I think that that gets into a level of, once we get past this initial level. Yeah, go ahead, Omiko.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, Jamie. Feel free to finish your thought.
Yeah, I feel like once we get the basic community stuff down of what we just discussed, that page that we just discussed, then have a sort of technical launch page for things like APIs, operators, or whatever. Like, one thing that came up, and I'll talk about this in a second, is that at the last working group meeting last week, I volunteered myself to start creating a operators page that basically links to the working group meeting, or sorry, the community development meeting from 2 weeks ago, where Shireen and Luigi provided a really awesome overview of some operator stuff. Plus, we had the working group meeting from like a month and a half ago, I think it was, or 2 months ago, where, you know, we had a great overview of operators. And we also have 2 examples of operator creation pipelines, Brian's and the one that Luigi did. And so my thought is to create a sort of a landing page for OKD operator stuff, so people know where we're at, and everyone can sort of start at the same level of knowledge. I would think that we could do the same thing with APIs, right? And sort of frame it in a landing page where people can basically find out about the APIs, find out how the APIs factor into, you know, how OKD works, and go from there. So yeah, Omiko, go ahead.
So I was going to say, to Dwayne's point, like, I think what you're saying makes some sense to me. But I think to begin with, we need to look at even like a higher level than that. Like, we need to zoom out a little further, because I think if someone shows up and they have a technical based question around like APIs or some very specific part, like this operator isn't working, or, machine API doesn't work or something like that, I think you're right. Like, yes, people would have to have a certain amount of knowledge to be able to like, reliably open up an issue or something there. But I think we also need, as a community, we need to look at a little bit higher level for even people who maybe aren't that technical yet, and they're coming to the project and it's like, oh, I noticed a problem in the documentation, or like, I'm curious about this story about usage patterns around OpenShift. So like, I think even before we get to the point where we're breaking down the technical topics, I think there's a level above that, which is like, you first need to figure out, is this person trying to communicate about a technical topic, or do they actually have some other way that they'd like to interact with the community? And so I think, to what Jamie was originally talking about, that was the way I interpreted it. Maybe first we talk about those very high level umbrella kind of catch-alls, right? And then one of those will be technical topics. And once we get into the technical topics, then we could start to talk about breaking it down. I guess, did I catch your meaning right on that, Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fine. I guess, there's going to be people going at different speeds and getting turned around and into rabbit holes anyway,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for our initial swag at this, we just need to make sure that we have like the slow lane, the medium lane, the fast lane, and the passing lane, or whatever. We just need to have those general categories, and then we can start to get into like, okay, how do we subdivide them or something? And
right.
That's what I took what you were saying, Jamie.
Yeah, and the thing is getting this higher level stuff means we can pull people in who maybe can help with writing the more detailed, more specific stuff, more technical topics and whatever. Because that's our biggest hurdle right now, is that we have like basically a core of like 5 to 7 people who are doing all of the lifting right now for this community, right? We need it to be more like a dozen to 20 to 200 people, right? So we need more volunteers, and that's getting this generalized system in place, I think, will help us get there. All right, any more thoughts on that? Okay, update the installing OpenShift on a single node instruction in the end user docs. We don't have a volunteer yet for that. I've not dealt with any SNO stuff in a small eternity, so I don't know anything about that.
Well, I can try to help with that.
Sure, if you could. I know that there was an attempt to do some SNO documentation, but I don't know. It seems to have sort of fallen by the wayside. So,
well, I can pick it back up.
Okay, fantastic.
Jamie,
yeah.
Sorry, with that one, what do they mean updating the installing OpenShift on a single node instruction?
Yeah, so this was
because
so there's in the user documentation, there's OpenShift, installing OpenShift on a single node, and so the issue is that the actual OpenShift docs, the product docs, are incorrect on there. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more the OpenShift product docs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Michael called them the end user docs here, but yeah, it's
yeah.
Speaking of which, has anyone seen him at all? He hasn't shown up in a meeting in like a couple months. Okay, I'll reach out to him and see if he's still involved or not. Okay, but yeah, that's a question of we need to get our docs in gear so that we can update the product docs, Red Hat's product docs, and tailor it for OKD. Yeah. Do you want me to add you as the assignee on that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, I will do that once we get done with this. I'll keep going here. Create page outline, release cycle, and support assistance. I haven't done that yet. Trying to get through some of the video stuff just so we can get more volunteers. But this actually aligns, I think, with the project board guidelines, is like, just outlining the release cycle and support and assistance stuff. And that sort of ties into the community stuff and where do people go and what can they expect from us? I think that all sort of ties together. And I feel like I feel like Vadim has slowed down to being 2 releases a month for the FCOS version. Does that feel right? I don't know if anyone else has been attuned to this or not, but it seems like it's like 2 a month now. So I think maybe I'm going to ask him if he feels like he's ready to do something, to say it's always going to be on a Saturday twice a month or something where we can at least give people a sense of when to expect it, because we haven't really had a discussion with Vadim recently about sort of an expectation of a release and when we might expect it. He's just been sort of cutting them on his own, and I see that they pop up and we get the message and whatever, but there isn't this like concerted effort to like, okay, release is coming, okay, promote it type thing. And so I'd like to get a conversation going with him about that, and I'll reach out to him about that. Reviewing the survey responses. I'm going to close the survey this week, and then we'll look at the responses and put them in a visual format and bring them back in September. So basically during that time off, I'm going to massage the survey results into something that's visually pleasing for us to look at. And then in September, have that ready to view and help us get some steps forward. And let's see, what else do we have here? Investigate the tutorials for setting up OKD to determine if we have good options for people from okd.io. Right, so that's the external links. And Dwayne, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that and sort of narrow down external links that you think are valuable.
I can go and review and give you an update. And Is next week our last meeting for a hiatus or?
So we've got the working group meeting next week, and then one more community development meeting, and then we're off the 22nd and 29th.
Okay, I'll try to have something before the hiatus.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what is OKD section of getting started? We've got a couple people have volunteered. But I think we might as well pull Diane off. I think she's probably not, she's not really involved anymore. So my inclination is to just pull her off.
Yeah.
So let's see, how do you, there we go. All right, there we go. And community virtual meeting to help create community catalog of operators for Operator Hub. We still haven't set up the meeting, and I think it's good that we have done all of the foundational work. I think everyone has a much better sense of operators now moving forward, and I think September would probably be a good time to set up a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
And investigate the CRC on OKD option from the Red Hat team. And that I'm going to pull Diane off of that, and I need to reach out to the CRC folks again and get a sense of if they have everything that they need from us. And define and document community processes using projects. Brian can't speak to that since he's in here. Redesign the OKD.io homepage. We need a volunteer who wants to do web stuff, basically. Is there anyone on the call that's interested in web stuff? HTML, web pages. All right. Maybe we'll put out a directed request for this, because we definitely need to update it. It does look kind of not as appealing. I think even the color scheme is just not pulling people in. Yeah. Go ahead.
So
yeah.
Just a question on that card. Can we drill into that card for a second?
Sure.
Since it's like help wanted. And I think you're right. I think that not this one, the latest news one. I think that one was a little more, more concrete. So like, did we pick like, are these the suggested changes? Because I think like if we have a help wanted card and we want to try and get the community to help, if we could refine the work that needs to be done in the card and just say like, look, like someone needs to go here, change this HTML to that HTML, make it look like this. Then I think it's a lot easier for us then to advertise this card, because someone can look at it and they can immediately say, oh yeah, I know HTML, I can do those things. So like, I know, we had some options we put up there, maybe like, to get this to the next stage, if we really want to get more community people working on it, maybe we should put another comment in this card and say like, we decided we like number 4.
Yeah.
Here's what the code kind of looks like. Could someone go and take a look and like, see if they can get this working? Maybe that would help us get to the next step in terms of helping to cast this wider net,
Yeah. And I think we did decide on 4 actually in conversation that was the one. But yeah, let's next meeting when Brian is back, let's revisit this one in particular and see if we can narrow that down. I think that's a great idea, and just be like, we need someone to do these 5 things to get us to what this image represents. You know what I mean? I think that's perfect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay. I'll leave a comment on that card. I was gonna say, I'll leave a comment on that card for next time, and then we'll just remember. Like,
perfect.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and haven't defined a diary or calendar process to update guides and glossaries and stuff. I feel like now that we've gotten the survey out, we're starting to get a rhythm. So I'll revisit that as time permits. Reach out to volunteers. I have been reaching out to volunteers. We get a couple people, but then people sort of disappear a little bit. Amy was going to do some volunteering, and I didn't see her. I think she like called in the last meeting. I don't think she participated much, but want to be able to get folks like that to leverage them to leverage their time on even some small things and stuff like that. Define the process to create a doc PR. And yeah, so we talked about you know, folks being able to build the website and view these changes. Brian was going to look, when Brian comes to the next meeting, I want to ask him if we've looked at that solution that was like in the browser. Like there is a plugin that works in the browser to provide sort of blogging functionality. I almost feel like that would be better, because asking people to make changes and build, I think is ultimately a kind of a hindrance, even with the suggestion that we had with that other containerized system. Like, and all of that to me, I think is sort of problematic for getting people to contribute stuff like blog posts and whatever. So I don't, does anyone share that or have any feedback or disagree with that?
I mean, I think you're spot on, Jamie. Like unfortunately, because of the way the docs is linked to like the Red Hat product docs and everything, yeah, it's just a complex procedure to kind of see the output. And I totally get what you're saying. Like if we want community contributors, they have to have a localized way to just say, I made a change, I hit this command, I see what the change looks like. Now I propose the PR. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
And this is this over here in progress, the blog plugin, that's what Brian was looking at. And then create documentation for single node installer. Okay, and we've got a whole bunch of people working on that one.
Now, how does that interact with our other card? I think was it Ready for Dev or Ready card about single node?
Yeah, so that's in the backlog, right? So that one is goes in, that's the one in backlog.
Right.
This is sort of that one is reliant on this one. Like once this is written out, then we can update the we would pull probably, because things we have two options, right? So if things sort of change in the CRC, or sorry, in the single node installer world and assisted installer, as they've been sort of adding new features with assisted installer and building on it, I think we have to ask ourselves, does it make sense to try to keep updating the product docs or keep our stuff for single node in our own documentation? You know what I mean? Because that's what this is about, creating our own documentation. And then we would sort of use that knowledge to update the product docs, but it might make more sense to just pull that or add a link to these so that we're not reliant on having to, anytime we need to make a change to the product docs, every time we need to make a change about single node install or anything with assisted installer, we have to go through the whole updating the product docs process. That's
I mean, this is going to bring us to kind of a larger question, in my mind, at least. This brings us to a larger question about the documentation, which is like, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying here in terms of like having a separate page that we can maintain on our own will be a lot easier in terms of like getting reviews done and getting it updated and everything. It reduces the burden for whoever's doing it. But it also, in my mind, brings us back to a question about like how we're using the product docs as like our source to begin with. And do we as a community at some point want to investigate the option of like forking those docs and having some sort of rebase procedure where we have some commits that we carry that customize the documentation the way we like to, and we frequently rebase from the upstream so that we always have fresh information, but we also have the ability then to vary the documentation like how we want to. So like, because I think what you're kind of getting at is like, it would be nice if we just had a way to carry a patch on top of it and say, okay, yeah, we can modify that how we want to,
Yeah. We never really talked about that. We would need the ability to, I mean, we would, because apparently they have like a tagging system where they will tag sections of text or books, as they called them, in it to pull sections out or add different text or whatever. if we could duplicate that on our own and just clone the pre, the straight OCP docs, and we do all of that and take the Red Hat person out of it, that would be fantastic, right? Let's
Right.
I need to reach out to Brian anyway, but let's see if we can investigate that as an option.
Okay. Yeah. And like,
Does that align with what I think that aligns with what you're thinking?
yeah, no, that's totally what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I think if it sounds like this is something that we as a community want to do, like there's tooling that my team inside of Red Hat, we have tooling that like automates a lot of these rebases and syncing external repos, because we do a lot of this work with the OpenShift release as it is, right? Like we replicate things from upstream, like the Kubernetes repo and stuff like that. So I think there is a way that we could discuss like how we do that in Red Hat, and some of that tooling might be useful to this community because it might show us a really easy way to say, look, we can have an automation set up that like once or twice or 3 times a week rebases our docs from the upstream docs and then applies a series of patches on top of it that we carry. And those patches would allow us then to, do whatever we want to, right? And so I think that may be something that, as a group, it might be interesting to talk about. Do we want to take that much documentation load on ourselves? Again, this is maintenance. We need people to kind of like do it and everything, but
yeah, but it would be much faster when someone pulls, and it's community sourced because in a lot of ways we do get a lot of comments from people of, hey, this isn't right. This is in the docs. This is in the product docs for OKD and it's not right. Or is this right? So we do sort of get community feedback and community participation up to that point. The problem is that we've had to, again, have them open a ticket with Brian's group. Someone there has to address it. Then that has to, get through. It would be much faster if someone says that to us and we immediately go, oh yeah, that's not right. And then I always like to have 3 people. It's kind of like etcd, right? The I forget the name for the theory behind having 3 masters, but basically if you have 3 people that are technically knowledgeable on something, there'll always be somebody available generally to go and do that change, right? And if we could do that for the docs amongst us, that would be fantastic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Any other thoughts on documentation stuff, folks? All right, and then Brian investigating the blog plugin and then remove support section. That we didn't get clarity on that because and this goes back to that question of like, okay, we need to establish which modules within the support book need to be removed. So we need to basically, maybe at the next meeting, let's look over the docs. We'll spend like 15 minutes looking over the docs and just say, okay, these need to be removed from the support section, or 10 minutes. I don't even think it'll take that long. So, but we won't do that today. But basically we need to just open up the product docs, go to the support section and go, okay, this needs to get pulled. This needs to get pulled. This needs to get pulled. Because there is some stuff in there that's useful, like I think that's where the chapter on must gather resides. And we definitely want must gather, right? So I don't think we would pull out the whole thing. I don't think. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Oops. Documentation, part documentation. Yeah, so if we go to, there it is. Yes, we would basically want to go through this and go, okay, what is available? Like telemetry is not available. Gathering data about your cluster is. So we won't do it at this meeting. We can do it at the next one. But you know, if folks could between now and the next meeting, take a look at the support section and think about which of these we should pull out, which blocks basically of text. Because I think we can actually do it at the section level. So if we can remove it at the section level, that would be great. Things like you know, the insight operator, I think, and then SOS report works, but you can't really send it anywhere. Like you can download the container and run it, but it's not really going to do anything for you. So, okay, something for us to look at the next meeting. So those will be our two things to discuss at the next meeting: is the web, selecting the web look and feel that we want for the front page, and narrowing down on out of the 5 options that we had mocked up for us, and then also looking at the docs and getting this support stuff cleared away. All right, that's pretty much everything. Is there anything else that folks want to talk about?
Yeah, next week we have a public holiday in Italy, so I don't think Alex and myself will be around. So, and then I think we said from the week after we're going to, I think what's that, the 22nd or 23rd?
Yeah, so 22nd and 29th. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we'll only see you guys in September then.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Well, Joe, what's the holiday, by the way? What is the holiday in Italy?
It's Ferragosto. I can't explain. Alex, do you perhaps know the origins?
It's a very old holiday from the period that Italy was from the Roman Empire. So it's still here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll take it. They will take it with both arms.
Yeah, right. All right, cool. Well, this was a great meeting. Thanks for your participation, everyone. And for those of you that we won't see until September, have a great next couple of weeks and enjoy your time off. And for the rest of you, we'll see you at the working group meeting next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.